Tell me, is it whack up in the air? Rapping scattered off the gear. I can map him, get it, yeah. It's like a tracker, get distracted, send him back like in the mail. Not a fraction of them real. Catch him lacking, run the drill. Running through the shit like a motherfucking dage.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Just a quick little video. You've probably seen in the title of the video. It's going to be how to fix your alternator. And it's very cheap, very easy to do. Just requires pulling it apart and changing some little brushes. So basically there's a little copper brushes inside your alternator, and basically over time that wears out and you lose contact and then it stops charging. So then you get a flat battery and then you end up stranded on the side of the road calling up bloody RACQ. So this is how you do it. It's pretty bloody easy. I've already pulled it apart, so it's gonna be hard to show you, but basically you take your alternator out of the car, you unscrew all the bolts off it. So there's a few bolts to undo, like this one, and then you take this nut off, which is, there's a trick to it. You need a rattle gun on there, and you put the alternator belt on the pulley and just hold it tight so that it stops it from moving, because it's a spinner. And then pop that nut off. Alrighty, so this is your alternator. Bloody good having a vise, eh? Chucking in the vise is amazing. So you get your rubber mallet once you've undone all the screws and things, and you give it a few taps on these two brackets, and out comes the center of your alternator, which looks like this. And this spins around inside, and it rubs on the brushes here that makes the contact. And you want to also, there's these two darker lines on here, you also want to give that like a linish or like a sand and smooth it off to make it nice for a good contact. So the problem with the alternator is the brushes that touch this wear out too much and they lose contact. So if you have a look inside here, this is the inside of the other half of the alternator, and you got the windings around the outside, and basically you got this surface here that connects to this, and yeah, it's quite cool how it all works. But basically this device in here, that bracket thing there, it's got these two brushes just here, and I can push them in. They're on a spring, and basically that spring pushes the brush out and it touches on this surface here, and it's worn out that much that it's losing contact now, so that it's not making a connection and stops charging, and then your battery goes flat. So what you need to do to fix the problem is remove this regulator here. There's two tabs here, one on each side. These are all slightly different depending on your make of alternator. Stay in there. But you need to unsolder the two little tabs that are in there. That was pretty tricky, but not too difficult. And then once you do that, out comes the regulator that has, so these are the two soldering points that you need to desolder, and this has your brushes in it. They're on the spring. So now we just have to open up this part, and then we have to desolder this top piece to open up this section and get into the brushes and solder on some new ones. And then a really good tip as well is don't lose the spring in here, because they're very tiny and they go twang pretty easily. But basically these are the new brushes, and they're going to go inside of here, inside there, and stick out, and you can cut them down to size. But these here were $5. $5. So that's freaking awesome. That means you could either go and buy a whole new alternator for like $300, or just replace this for $5 and learn something and have some fun on the way. So I'm a kind of DIY guy. I like to give shit a go, and I've seen Dad do this once before when I was a lot younger, and I'm giving it a crack myself. So yeah, it's always fun giving things a crack. Let's see if I can get this next part open and put the brushes in. Cool, so with the regulator you want to pop off this bottom piece. It's just like a little cap. That pops off like that. And then in these two holes you can see springs in there, and the spring sits at the back here and the brush sits at the front, and that keeps pressure on it to push it forward the whole time until it gets to the stage where it's worn out. And these little wires here coming off and going to this terminal, that is my wire right here. So I've just got to get the spring out by desoldering this, and then there's a little hole on the top here. I'm pretty sure you push the spring all the way in and then poke something in the hole to hold it, I think, but yeah, I can't really remember, but let's give it a go. Alrighty, so you want to get your soldering iron and a bit of solder, which is always good fun. So you want to heat up your soldering iron. You don't want too much heat, but you want enough to actually do the job. So that's just from playing around and figuring out how hot it needs to be. This one here is not even adjustable, so everything, all or nothing. So you want to have a little bit of solder on the tip of your soldering iron, and then the heat's actually transferred through the solder. So if you have no solder on there, you just whack a soldering iron on, it's not going to do shit. So you want to have a dab on there, and then also this will heat up enough to go through the solder into the old solder, and that will become loose. And I should have like a pair of pointy nose pliers or something in my hands to try and pull this off. So that's one, lifted that tab off. And you don't want like a heap of solder too, you just want a little blob. It does take a bit of practice to get to know exactly the right amounts of what you need to do. It's just trial and error really. That one came off nice and easy. Also, don't grab the end of the soldering iron, it's really hot. Remove the bush. So this is what it looks like. This is the old one, and this is the spring that I was saying don't lose that. It's quite big, but yeah, could go flying. Mitsubishi. Chuck that to the side. Just want to feed the new one through. Pop that up inside. Hole. Wrap your wire around a couple of times. So the new one's in place. I'm just going to solder it on there to hold it. Just like that. And then you trim off the end, but I'm just going to leave it till the last thing I do, just in case I made a mistake. You don't want to trim it off too early. Now the other side, you can see here, the old one is super short and then the new one's super long. So that's because it's been wearing away and it's too short now. Now you can see these brushes are super long compared to before. Basically, when I put it back together, this is going to push down and hold tension on it from the springs, and then as it wears out, it's slowly going to keep pushing and pushing it until it gets all the way too short to touch. Basically what you've seen before. So there's a little marker on here, a little line where it says to set these two. So I just put them in there and soldered them onto the terminals on the top. Soldering's not that flash because the soldering iron is just jumbo size. And then yeah, you just trim these little tails off and we whack it all back together. Easy peasy. Alrighty, now if we're putting it back together, there's a little secret, there's a little hole in the case of the alternator and you put a piece of wire through it and then you poke it through this hole and then it holds the brush down. So if I pull this back out, this brush is sticking out and this wire is holding it down like with pressure so that you can put this back in the bottom and then you can lower this in and then you can pull the wire out from underneath and it will let the two brushes spring out and touch here. It's pretty much the only way you can do it and it's designed to do it that way. So it's hard to film that, but I'll try and show you. Alrighty, so this is the tricky bit. Basically in there I've got a piece of wire. I don't know if you can even see that, but on this left side here there's a piece of wire that I've stuck through the back, through this keyhole, and it goes through and pushes the two brushes and holds them flat. So now we can push in this center piece that goes in here, and then this brush can fit in the circle, and we pull the wire out and the brushes release and hold on. So a little bit of magic. You can kind of see it there, and the little wire sticking out, and the two brushes pushed in. I've sanded this edge here to make it all nice and smooth again. Get a little crap. Now this just drops straight in here, like so. That fits in there. And then remove our wire, and that just went click, and the brush is just pushed up onto the bloody bearing. And I'm fucking happy that that's done. That was so fiddly. So now it's just a matter of finding which way it was on there, which looks about there. Whacking the long screws back in. Pulley back on. Wash a nut. So I can feel it's nice and grippy there now. It's actually touching. So yeah, that's the cheap way to fix your alternator. It's a little bit fiddly, but definitely doable. Yeah, if you have any questions, just give me a bell. But yeah, I'm sure if you had a Google on the internet, it'll probably teach you how to do this. I was going by memory, and you can figure it out. It's not crazy. You just got to know about that little hole where you put your piece of wire in there, and also you got to get the right size wire. I had some thin stuff to start with, and it was too thin. It was just too flexy, and then I got some thicker stuff that was perfect. So the right tool for the right job, and yeah, she's all sorted. I'm just gonna have a play around the shed, but that's pretty much it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. Just a quick little video. Stay tuned for the next one. Thanks heaps to everyone for sending me really nice messages and having a good convo. I really enjoy that. And if you like this video, hit the like button. If you have any questions about this, put it in the comments. And if you haven't already, hit subscribe.